So as promised, we got some beautiful weather the last 2 days. The cold is gone and my soil has thawed out. So let's talk about onions. The onion plant itself is what's called a biannual, or a 2-year plant. What that means is if you start your onion from seed, it's going to grow and it's going to be like a normal onion the first year, and then it's going to go dormant and then sit through the winter, and the next year it will flower and put off more seeds. What that means for you as a gardener is you have a choice. Growing onions is one of the easier things to do in your garden, but it really depends on how you want to do it and what you're going to be doing with your onions. If you're going to be storing your onions long term, I highly recommend either starting them from seed yourself or buying what's called starts. The difference between onion starts and onion sets is where a lot of people get confused. Both are fine. If you're just growing onions to have onions through the season, both are amazing. Most people will buy onions from the store in what's called an onion set. Now, an onion set is what looks like a little tiny onion bulb, and you put those in the ground and you get an onion from that. If you're a first-time grower for onions, I will recommend using an onion set. The reason I recommend using an onion set is because it's going to be a little easier. You can get it in the ground a little later. It's going to give you a nice size bulb. It doesn't require as much work. An onion start, however, looks like this. These are first-year plants. An onion set is usually a second-year onion. The starts, however, are a little more complicated. If you are starting from seed yourself, you're wanting to start your seeds inside about mid-November, early December. They take a long time to get from seed to this size. Personally, the reason that I use the starts is because the first-year onions are better for storage than the second-year onions. And I'll get to that in a moment. The other thing that's tricky about the starts is when you grow them inside from seed, they require a lot of attention. You want to make sure that you keep your onions trimmed, which basically you cut them like you would cut grass. You want to give them the right amount of water, not too much, not too little. They like a certain amount of heat. A lot of people have very good success with germinating onions, and then they get to be about as thick as a pencil lead and die back. I myself have a hard time doing it. I will usually buy my starts from a onion grower because I just don't have the space and the time to devote to starting from seed. All that being said, however, the reason that I choose the starts over the sets is, like I said, they're a first-year onion. We are in a homestead situation. We grow most of our food. I don't want to have to go to the store and buy onions. So I will grow a lot of onions, which means I need to store those onions. Now, the difference between a first-year onion and a second-year onion is the second-year onion, they've already started on the inside to put that flower stalk off. What that means for you is as you store your onions, that inside piece is not going to cure properly. It's going to want to continue to grow. The onion wants to put its seeds out. Now, if you take that onion and put it in your storage, it's going to rot from the inside out, and they're not going to last the whole winter long. That's why I do the starts. The first-year onions, they're designed to go into dormancy for the winter, so when you pull them, you bring them inside, and they will last you a whole lot longer. Now, because I choose the starts is the reason that I have to put them out before the end of February. If I don't get the starts in the garden with enough length of growing season, they're not going to be as big of an onion. Now, you don't have to do that. You can put them out later in the season if you want. They don't need a huge amount of time to grow, but the first-year onions are not going to get as big as a second-year onion. So there's lots of pros and cons between the two, and you got to weigh them out. Had to pause and get some of the other farm chores done, so we've lost a little bit of light. While we're on the topic of onions, I want to touch on what a lot of people will see when they're buying their onions and helping to choose what onion is going to be good for you. You're going to have 3 options. The short day onions, better for more southern climates. A long day onion is better for more northern climates. And an intermediate day onion. An intermediate is kind of in between. Really, in truth, most of the continental United States you can plant an intermediate onion. A short day onion will bulb out in a shorter day. Therefore, it requires less sun, and it can be planted in the south because it gets warmer earlier in the year. But the long day onions are the exact opposite. They require more hours of sunlight before the plant will start putting off a bulb. Therefore, they work better in the north, where you can't plant your onions out until later in the year, and the days are a little bit longer. I got the onions, or at least one batch, in the ground, and I wanted to show you really quickly how I did that. So it's as simple as taking the onion with your, even with your finger, and just pushing it in the dirt past your fingernail. And then that's it. That's all you gotta do. The reason I plant my onions this way is allows two things. First, it makes my finger a sort of support for the plant so that I'm not risking it snapping as I push it into the soil. But secondly, and more importantly, my fingernail is the perfect depth for planting an onion. It's just about a centimeter deep. If you plant your onions too deep, you're going to hinder the bulb growth and you're going to get a smaller yield. Now you can go back further down the road and clear the soil away from your onions, and in truth, I still do that a little bit, but it's a lot of work that you can avoid if you just plant your onions a little bit shallower in the beginning. So I hope that this helped you guys understand a little bit more on how planting onions work and why they're so much fun to do. You can see I'm using a dipper in this. The ground is a little more frozen than I thought. I do have a link in the description below from Dixondale Farms where I order my onions. If you're interested in getting some, I highly recommend them. Prices are fantastic, so go ahead and check them out. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment below if you think you're going to try onions this year. Thanks for watching, and don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. See you all next time.